this when it goes live.
Yeah. All right, we're live. We are live, guys.
What's up?
I think.
Hello.
What's up, live? What's up, live stream?
The first time. Hopefully not the last time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This is the start of a new journey on the podcast. It's pretty sweet. Yeah. So let's jump right in. We've been talking for a little bit, but guys, so this is our first live stream on the Get Out Swim podcast. Today I am joined by my co-host João Mescalote, swim coach João. You can find him on Instagram and his website everywhere else. João, you got your website, right?
We're all over swimcoachjoão.com.
Swimcoachjoão.com. There you go.
Nice.
João does awesome stuff. You can check him out and the content that he posts. And then our featured guest today is the co-founder of SwimSmart. This is Karl Hamouche. So Karl, thanks for hopping on.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be on the Get Out Swim podcast. This is awesome to talk to you guys. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the one and only Get Out Swim podcast. Yeah. So, this is exciting to be able to do this. So a little bit of backstory. João has been kind of sponsored by SwimSmart and helping kind of push some of your guys' products, and has been a proud, from what I can see, just user of SwimSmart products, and then also helping to, again, just promote what you guys have out there, you and Mike and the SwimSmart company. So João connected us in the first place. The podcast has been sponsored by SwimSmart, and we've been asking that question: what does swimming smart mean to you? We can definitely get there with
Hopefully
you,
I
Karl.
have a good answer for that one.
Yeah, the bar has been set by I
know
20 guests at this point. So
oh my gosh.
No.
All right, good.
No, it's a no pressure question. And so, yeah. So, but Karl, I want to start tell us about you entering into the swim kind of business space of wanting to create some gear that can help enhance the mechanics of swimming and how people went through the water. How did SwimSmart come to be, and where was your headspace at when you co-founded this with Mike?
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a bit of a long story. You can cut me off if I'm going too long. So I was an okay swimmer, did high school club. I was maybe good enough to walk onto a girls team in college, but I never actually swam in college on a team. My personal athletic achievements were in the powerlifting world. But then I got into coaching in my college years. The local team here in Ames, they asked me to come and help. I'd never done it before, didn't know much about it, but really fell in love with it. I coached 8 and unders, 9-10. 9-10 was my favorite, but I did all the way up to junior college for a little bit. I had my own satellite. I was the head coach of a satellite pool. And how old was I? 22, 23 at the time. And at the same time, I was applying to medical school, and I got in. And second year of med school, I had a lot of time on my hands. It wasn't really that challenging. So I figured I'd just start a swim business. Just kidding. For those listening, that's called sarcasm, which I'm not good at relaying, so I have to say it out loud. But, I didn't really want to leave the pool deck just yet. I was just getting started, I felt like, and I was having a lot of fun and learning. One of the things me and Mike, I think, were kind of unique at, we're a bit inventive, especially Mike, who hopefully he'll jump on the podcast sometime and you guys can probe him about it. And so we as coaches, the way I describe how SwimSmart became was we could see the problems on the pool deck, bad streamlines, bad dolphin kicks, bad early vertical farm. And so we would invent something to help our swimmers. And we figured, well, if it helps our swimmers, maybe it'll help somebody else. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of developed the products and improved them, sourced them, manufactured them, built the website, and then took care of all the shipping and such. And we started with the Squeezline, which is, let's see here, this little button back there, which is a streamlined sensor. That was the first one that we ever made. And from there on, we just kind of made one after another: the harness, the push paddle, the e-paddle. I started writing. So again, the other part of Swim Smart, there's like the tools side that help you on deck and in the water, and the other side was the education side. So I was like in med school learning all this stuff about how the human body works, which I always thought was fascinating. I think it's like the best machine ever made. Putting it in the water, obviously the greatest sport of them all. Okay, we want to get controversial here. Football holds no candles to swimming. And so I wanted to share, I always wanted to bring, okay, what am I learning in medicine that I can bring to the pool deck? What am I learning in the business that I can bring to the pool deck? And I look back at like my coaching experience. What would I have wanted when I was coaching? I remember when I first got started, I was getting into it. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, this is great. I'm having so much fun, but I still don't know anything about coaching. I don't know really. This was before med school, so I didn't know a lot about the biology behind stuff. So I asked my boss at the time, Tim Teeter. I think he's out in California now, coaching. And he said, well, get this book called Swimming Fastest and read through that. I might be one of the only people that's actually read through all of Ernie McGlisco's textbook. And it's great. And I totally recommend it to anybody. But if you look through, I mean, it's a lot of words, black and white graphs. So when I was in med school, I thought, well, I can relay some of that information and put my creative side to use in my free time and kind of let off some steam. So that's when I started writing The Biology of Swimming. And I didn't get done. I think it took me 3 or 4 years to really put it all together between all the drawings and the chapters and the pictures. And so, to summarize a long answer into a short statement, I would say Swim Smart is, we're coaches. Like on deck, we see the problems and we want to fix it. So everything that we do is trying to fix a specific problem. And the big guys, Speedo, Arena, Tier, I mean, they have their niche, but they're not necessarily on deck. They're not necessarily seeing like what actually needs to be solved in real time. And so they never really pursue some of these things. So I think we get a chance to do that. And swimming has a lot of opportunity to be creative. And that's kind of our niche, and it's fun. It's fun to do.
Great. So you started this before med school, but then you were doing it while you were in med school. Like you were writing this book while you were learning. You started the book?
I started in med school. So I officially like incorporated my second year of med school. And then the book I didn't finish until my intern year. So med school, for those who don't know, you do college, then you do 4 years of medical school, then you do an intern year, then you do residency, then sometimes you do a fellowship. So I did 4 years med school, 1 year internship, 4 years residency, 1 year fellowship. And then I finally got my first job at 35, which is great. So happy.
Karl, what are you a doctor of?
I'm a full-time radiologist right now. Yeah, besides, so it depends who you ask, right? Some people will say I'm a full-time radiologist with a swimming business and coaching side gig. Others will say I'm a swim coach with a radiology side gig. So it depends who you ask.
Wow, that's good. And so you and Mike, talk to me about how you paired up with Mike, and then you were working together, you were coaching together, you saw the same problems, and then you worked more on the kind of like the development manufacturing side while he was more of like the idea guy. How did that work?
Yeah, that's pretty close to it. So we started coaching together. He actually grew up in Ames too, and swam here and swam in Colorado in college. If you get Mike on here, see, I have to plug him in because he's like the most humble guy in the world. He'll never like self-promote. He was like Missy Franklin's age group coach at Stars back in the day, took some of those girls to juniors. I think they ended up winning. I know they won relays. They may have won juniors on the girls side at the time. And so he came back to Ames and started coaching with me a little after I had started, but he was more experienced and he was my mentor, and we became like really best friends. At least he's my best friend. I don't know if I'm his best friend, but that's okay. And so, yeah, he is a pretty creative guy. He would come up with an invention like this harness. That was all him. Uh, because, you know, he had kids using the power towers or parachutes and their upper bodies were kind of flailing up and down, and he wanted to pull them from the shoulders. So he's like, Carl, let's make a harness. And I was like, okay, and so I run with the idea, improve on it a little bit, put some colors together, find someone to make it, and then put it on the website and sell it. And so that's how a lot of these ended up being, or coming to be. Some of them are purely mine, but a lot of them are we do together. So
Yeah,
I think this is cool because a lot of times, I mean, me and Seamus, we've been on a pool deck in like different parts of the country as well, and like especially like when I travel and do clinics and talk to coaches all over, I think I have a list of at least like 1,000 different like ideas, right?
Mhm.
Like coaches approach and like, oh, dude, I have this really cool idea of like
Mhm.
an equipment, or you should do this, or we
Mhm.
could do this. And I think like 99.999% of the time, it's always like an idea that never gets to see
Yeah.
light. So
Mhm.
how like that entrepreneurial like mindset, did you always have that growing up? Was it easy to just like like, let me find a manufacturer, like let's put the Swim Smart name behind it and get it together? Or did it take you like a couple of hurdles to get through, like especially in the beginning?
Definitely a big learning curve. As someone who never did, like, I never took a business class, never took like an accounting class. Uh, I don't know if I always had that spirit. Like, I didn't have like a lemonade stand when I was a kid or something, like selling stuff, but uh, it grew on me really fast when I started. We're just like, okay, well, let's just try to make something. Let's just see what happens. And it was a fun process. Not easy, lots of failure. I can talk to you about products that I worked on that did not work, like a light pacing system underwater. That one, I thought I was getting pretty close and came up with some good ideas, but I got a prototype once and it was like leaking electricity into the water. I was like, maybe I don't want to play around with this at this level. Maybe this requires some more expertise that I can do. So I'll stay with the simple stuff. And then, but nowadays, it's so streamlined and so it's not easy, but it's much easier to do this. So finding a manufacturer is really like not that hard. There's a lot of them out there. I'll say, I mean, a lot of these are made overseas, but on the next round of inventory, like even the technology right now has changed, right? So like these paddles are made out of plastic that's stamped out, but the next time I'm going to make them, I think I'm going to look for some way to 3D print them. And that's going to, it's going to save on warehousing and inventory, and you can just make a few at a time, just as needed. And so you save a lot of resources, you can save money, and you can bring things back, here to America, which is always the goal. But these days, setting up a website is, yeah, it takes time and you have to learn it, but you can do it pretty much all from your phone. Like, it's insane how much the technology has made it streamlined. Like 20 years ago, you'd have to have like a brick and mortar store, or you'd have to go around, club to club, talking to people about your products, selling it in person, which you still kind of have to do. We're going to go to the TISCA, the Texas Swim Coaches Association conference in May. So, which is always fun. It's nice to see people in person, but in reality, like, it's so streamlined. And now I've done Swim Smart. I took FogX, which is like an anti-fog sticker. I made that for scuba divers and spun that off as a whole separate business, a whole separate website, and it was much more efficient, much faster. And then my dad and brother decided they want to open a chocolate shop, and so I got pulled into making a website for them, and it was faster and easier the third time around. So it's not impossible. And Jao, I think I've had people come to me with ideas and say, hey, I have an idea for this, can we do that? And I think if I wasn't so busy, I would pursue a lot of things. I know a guy he reached out to me from Ireland or the UK with like a special breaststroke fin that he wanted to make, which I thought was a good idea, good design. But I was like, you need to kind of figure out maybe one or two of these issues with it, and then come back to me. I'm talking with another coach about a new I won't give it away, but it's a tool in swimming that he wants to use, and he wants to put it on our website, and hopefully we'll have that this year. Another guy, he's inventing like a system for swimmers to equalize them when they're doing 50 sprints and stuff in the water, so that they're not all finishing at different times. In theory, they would all finish at the same time and keep score and stuff. But it's a challenge, you know. I texted him the other day. He's like, yeah, it was going well until I ran into this problem or this situation, and I have to source this. And so if you're not willing to put up with, you know, solving big problems, entrepreneurship, business, it's not for everybody. It's hard. Like I have a 3-month-old, so I was up at 3:30 this morning for him. But I was like, well, what are we going to do? Sit on the computer, do work, do marketing, which, by the way, you can have all the good ideas in the world. Without good marketing, it doesn't matter. I learned that one the hard way.
Well, I think like it is crazy. Like I sort of like agree, because I'm on the same boat. Like I'm very entrepreneurial, and it's kind of like, yeah, like I think what makes it easy, I guess, for you is that it's something that you're genuinely like passionate about, right? Like you're not just doing this just, you know, to make a quick buck, but we can see the passion in the products, and you know, even the demonstration videos that you put out, and you know, like even like reading biology of swimming, when we see your comments, like it's so genuine from, you know, like someone that knows the biology. And like I'm sure that we could go hours talking about the specificity of, you know, ATP and whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you just make it simple for swim coaches, swimmers, and you know, parents to understand, like in a simple way, and honestly, like a loving and caring way. Like it's almost like a coach trying to explain to a 10-year-old, and trying to help whoever is reading fall in love with that idea, and like use that idea as a way of becoming a better swimmer. So it is a very cool thing.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, it really means a lot, because that was the goal. It's like, okay, brand new coach, he's probably like 19, 20 years old. He's just doing this as a side hustle, but he really likes it. He wants to learn more, or she. And the only available learning is like a huge textbook, which I could read okay because I was a biology major and it made sense to me. And it was useful for me. But if you're just living off of a high school biology class from 3 years ago, you know, that's going to be hard to get some of these concepts across. And so I really tried to simplify things, use a lot of pictures, graphs, analogies, and some fun to make it, you know, something that somebody would actually enjoy learning about. You know, I call it the swimming machine, right? Is that the tagline?
Yeah.
Building the swimming machine, and it really is an incredible like machine if you think about it. It's so well designed, it works so well, it adapts to things. Like, can you imagine a car? You know, this is an analogy I use. Imagine you have a car, it's got 4 cylinders and road tires, but if you drive it on the dirt, the next day it'll put on some like dirt tires. And if you press down really hard on the gas pedal, it'll like sputter home, but the next day it'll put 2 more cylinders in the engine and it'll grow and it'll go faster. You know, that's what your body does on its own. It's pretty wild. And so, and if you're a coach and you can convey that message to your swimmers, they're going to trust you, and they're going to trust the workout that's on the board. And I think that's really the power of the educational side of SwimSmart, is building trust with swimmers. And if your swimmers and parents, especially if the parents trust you, like, you're going to solve so many headaches on the admin side, right? And no matter what's on that whiteboard for a workout, it could be 10 25s on a minute, it could be 5 1000s on, you know, 10 minutes. If you can explain how that's improving the swimming machine, how it's going to help somebody swim faster, they're going to put better effort into it. And that's really what you want as a coach. At least for me, I want the best effort out of my swimmers. That way, no matter what's on that whiteboard, it's going to help them swim faster.
Did you seek any help while you were writing the book? You said it took a while. Did you seek any help from other coaches besides, exchanging ideas with Mike and your own experience?
Not so much. I mean, I was pulling not just from like Ernie's writings, but other just regular exercise science textbooks. So getting into med school is really hard. So the first year I did not make it in. And so I started a master's degree in exercise science or kinesiology. So, and then the next year I got in, and the admin at the medical school made a fuss about my grade. They didn't make a fuss about my grades, but they said, well, if your grades drop, we may not let you in. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll drop out of my master's degree. So I'm a, grad school dropout, if you want to describe me that way. But, but I would pull the information from all these sources. The nutrition chapter comes from like these big nutrition guide, what am I trying to think of the word? People who write about this guidelines and the research of that stuff. So, but coaches, a little bit. I would give it out and see what I'd even give it to swimmers and those who were interested in this kind of stuff to read over it and see what they thought, or is this part confusing, or did it not make sense, or maybe I'm wrong, and then I'd adjust it from there.
I was actually, it's funny. I actually started reading it again last night. I think it's Swimming Even Faster. It's one of Maglishko's books. Yeah. So I was like, okay, let me just start this one over. I like reading textbooks like sporadically. And it just it just took me so long to read a chapter. It was like the chapter on like the energy systems. And it's so night and day when I read the energy systems chapter on the biology of swimming or any of those other books. Cause it's like biology of swimming, like I can get through it in like legit like 15 to 20 minutes. And it's just like a quick reminder of like, okay, I remember everything.
Cool.
It took me over an hour last night. And I was like, maybe I was sleepy or maybe it was just, but it was like you said, it's like, it's dense. Right. And it's okay. It's the right information. But like, I feel like you said, like the 19-year-old, the 20-year-old, like young coach that is just getting into, their coaching career. Sometimes that's the make it or break it, right? Like they want to learn and, maybe they decide that they're never going to ever pick up a textbook for the rest of their lives because the first one that they do is something so dense and heavy that they're like, this isn't for me. I have great respect and for Dr. McGlisco's writings. We even have some of his newer ebooks on our website that we sell, and he gets the majority of the money of that. I mean, SwimSmart takes a small royalty like everybody else, but he gets that money, and I encourage everybody to read his stuff. I mean, it is really great. But I mean, it's nice to have something that's more like kid friendly almost, Did you do all the drawings?
I did I did on a tablet back in the day. So I would draw it out and screw it up, and then you could erase things and try it again until it looks good. And then this was back before AI, before all these easier
I was gonna say, like, it's so well like done, and I'm like, this is way before AI.
It was a process, but I was getting it down. So I'd go work intern year. I'd go work at the hospital 10, 12 hours, go swim, eat for 45 minutes. And then every night I'd just sit on my computer and write or research or draw. And I wasn't married at the time, and, bachelor life. But it's amazing how much time there is if you don't scroll. I mean, this was before doom scrolling. This was Netflix was there, but it wasn't like huge. But if you want to be successful in life, no matter what you do, it doesn't have to be business, but you're gonna have to learn how to control the distractions for sure. And part of that is you have to find something that you you love more than the distraction. Like I used to play video games back in the day. I can't like get myself to sit and play a video game anymore because all I can think about is like, man, I'm just wasting time. I could be doing this. I could be building that. I could be inventing this. And that's what I'd prefer to do now. So maybe it's just me in my old age. Maybe that's all it is. Becoming lame.
Gotta keep working, gotta keep grinding. What did you wait? So your process when you were going through this, were you just up late, like late nights, you just couldn't turn your brain off, you had to get these ideas out until you kind of could see breakthroughs, you know, and was that like, what was that process like?
Yeah, I wouldn't like stay up too late, but yeah, it was fun. It's fun to it's creative. Like why do people like if you ask kids these days, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? They say I want to be a YouTube influencer or Instagram influencer, and I think a lot of us find it cringy. I do too. I mean, it's like okay, you know, let's think about a real job here. No offense, Joe. But actually there is a point to it. I mean, people like to be creative. They like to, I mean, that's what humans are. Humans are like defined by their creativeness, right? No other creature creates things. They don't invent things. I think, what is it? Is it Homo sapien? Something about tool maker. So I think this is a little bit in our DNA to want to improve things and to create things. And that's, you know, people have hobbies that they like to knit or crochet. Some people like to paint. Some people like to read books. My creative outlet is inventing things and making some content, but Zhao's much better at that than me. So I'm happy to hand that off to him, thankfully. But you know, I'll be the supporting player in that. And yeah, I mean, I want to improve the swimming world. You know, I think that's what gave me like my voice. That's what gave me my confidence when I started doing it. You know, when you're facing up against like 39, 10-year-olds that are screaming their heads off and the music's loud and the other kids are screaming and splashing around, like you have to wrangle like it's a herd of, you know, sheep. And once you learn that, it really grows your confidence and you want to be involved in it. It's like parenting, actually. When you see those kids growing up, I can tell you stories. I mean, that's the best part. And so if I can help in my own little way, in my own niche way, I want to be a part of that.
Zhao, how have you kind of seen what Karl like has been developing? Like you obviously have been using like his products a lot, the push paddle, I see with the e-paddle, the power harness, more than I have. Like, and you, what have you noticed from like these inventions and how they can help like the average, you know, just any swimmer at any level? Like, what have you seen?
I think that was one of the questions that I was gonna ask Karl. Like, where? Let me ask Karl that, and I'll answer as well. But what do you think was the main motivator for you to get into that like coaching and solving problems mindset? Because for me, and that's answering your question, Seamus. Like for me, going into coaching happened a lot because of, you know, I think the same mindset of like looking at the systems, and like as an athlete, like I've been exposed to a lot of like the most elite, you know, in my case, sprint programs, you know, like swimming in one of the most elite sprint program in Brazil, and then coming to the US, swimming in the fastest conference in college swimming, and swimming against some of the fastest guys in the world. I could see, I wasn't an expert in physiology, but I could see like, hey, there are some things here that can be done differently. And, you know, this is we're talking about, you know, over 10 years ago now, but nowadays you're seeing like a lot more sprinters like lose that fear and train in a certain different way. And I think that's kind of like what led me into coaching. It was like, hey, it's not bad blood. Like, I don't think my coaches were doing something wrong that I can do it like different, but it's more like, hey, there's something here. I can do this better as a coach. I think there's different ways of like skinning this cat. And I think my ways can be a little different. So I think with Swim Smart, from like drawing that parallel, it's probably kind of like the same, right, Carl? Like,
Yeah.
like it's you didn't make the e-paddle to be a substitute paddle for all the paddles in the world, right? It's
No,
like,
I
hey,
have
there's
regular
something
stroke
different
makers.
here, right?
Yep.
Right.
I use them both for different things.
Right.
I think I think it was like a happy chance that I got into coaching. Like, it was never really the plan. I was in college. I was working at the research lab, and I was working on my way into med school, and somebody just happened to ask, like, hey, you might be good at this, or we need help on the team. Can you come help? And so it was kind of a chance thing that I got involved. But what's really fun, I think, about swimming is that it's such a weird habitat for humans. It's so difficult. Like, you can't really do like real research in swimming, right? You can't, like, I remember a story of so one of my professors, Rick Sharp, he was under was it Councilman? I think that was his mentor.
Councilman. Yeah.
Doc Councilman. And so they went to like Eddie Reese at one point, like, hey, we have an experiment. We want to test, 2 different modes of training. Like, are you willing to do that? And Eddie's like, oh yeah, for sure. As long as I get to pick which swimmers are in which group. And so, so it's like, swimming it's a huge mystery, I think, for a lot of us. That's why there's so many ideas on how to do it. And like you're saying, Jao, there's many ways to skin the cat, especially because we have such a huge range of events. I mean, a 50 freestyle is not the same even as 100 freestyle. I would argue. And so you have so much, like, it's like exploring. It's like going out on the ocean in the boat using the star. All you have are some stars to navigate, but you really don't know where you're going, and you have to kind of make it up on as you go. And so you can learn the basics and you can get the fundamentals down, which we know from other sports and other research. If you're going to talk on the scientific side, but eventually every pool, is a little different. Training in a 85-degree pool is not the same as training in a 78-degree pool. Training long course is not the same as short course. Training a 12-year-old is not the same as a 22-year-old. And so you have almost an infinite variability in this sport. And so coaches get to really develop their own style. I think it should still be situated in some fundamentals. Like, you don't want to just I think we should just dog paddle and that's going to help us swim butterfly really well. It's like, no, well, there's some, there should be some thought process and design and system behind what you're doing. And hopefully that's where I come in and help. But other than that, like, once you're past fundamentals, everybody's in the same boat. Like, we're all just trying to figure this out. And like you're saying, Jao, like, you have, different swimmers react to different training different ways. And so you have to have kind of an experimental mindset. Like, okay, I did this one season. The kids reacted well. I'm going to tweak it a little bit. Oh, the kids didn't taper well like this. They tapered better like that. I got to go back and adjust. It's a constant discovery kind of pathway, which makes it super fun.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, like, and that's, shame is where like the products come in. Like, I posted a picture maybe like 2 months ago of my training bag, and I have so much equipment, right? Like, I go to the pool and I have like 5 different types of like socks, and like 7 different sizes of parachutes, and the harness and the parachute that goes on your hips, and then 3 types of kickboards. And people are like, what, like, do you use all of this every day? And I'm like, no. Sometimes, like, there's stuff that I've been carrying for like 5 years that I haven't touched in 5 years. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like that one. I'm very like experimental. Like, when I go to the pool and like I'm warming up and I'm, getting in touch with the water for whatever it is. If I'm going to do a speed set, or a endurance set. I don't do those, but an endurance set, like a power set. It's just like I like to have a lot of tools that I can play and get creative with. And a lot of times, like, I just experiment, with my athletes. It's funny, like when I was at Ball State, that's what I called my sprinters, like the lab rats, like a lot of the guys that I just tried different stuff. And I'm like, all right, like, you just risk the check box, and like, this worked well, this didn't work, this could be better. So I like the range of possibilities that, products that Swim Smart brings us. Because, I think just the harness itself, it's such a game changer. Like, so many coaches like love it. And it's something that maybe a lot of programs still don't know it exists. Like, I have actually, like, one of my best friends told me like 2 weeks ago, like, he's a coach as well. He told me, he's like, oh dude, like, the harness is cool. I usually like used to just wear like what did they use, like a band, like a gym, like elastic band, and then like they would attach the parachute, and I'm like, that works as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. Yeah. But there's also a product, right? So there's so many ways. And I think Swim Smart just kind of like bridges a lot of those gaps. Of just,
I saw you using I like that video you posted with the push paddle and hands at your side
right,
underwater
right.
kicking.
Yeah.
I immediately was like, I want to use that for my kids.
See, and that's something I created. I mean, I didn't create, I don't know, someone probably has done that before, but like, I started doing like maybe like 4 weeks ago, like as soon as because I started training again in the beginning of January, like training a little more serious. And that's something that I've identified in the past year, that I personally need a lot of like range of motion training in my warm up in order to do well in butterfly. If I want to do any power in butterfly, I need to warm up my T-spine
whole body.
So then, I started doing just kind of like one of the drills that I learned last year when I was coaching at NC State was kind of like using the arms around the body like this, and that helps you like stretch out the lats and open the upper T-spine. And then 3-4 weeks ago, I was like, what if I just go fully underwater with a slight resistance here? And then that's where the push paddle came in. And I'm like, oh, let me put the push paddle in. Like, oh, wow, this feels great, because it forces my head to stay in place. So I'm not moving my neck up and down. And then boom. And then, the same day I did it, I had a private lesson, about an hour later, and I had the kid try it. And, when a 30-year-old is doing it and it's working, I'm like, okay, now 11-year-old, you go ahead and do it. Did it work? Great. That's it. That's something that's sticking. And I got to post about this. So,
nice.
yeah. So I think like a lot of like the not only Swim Smart, but like a lot of equipment that's out there, it's just about like being like experimenting, right? Like, I'm sure, Karl, like, you didn't create the push pedal to be put on top of your head, but guess what? Like, we open a full range of opportunities to use it, right? Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, that is not what I was thinking when we came up with it.
Right.
It was just supposed to be like a dolphin kick training tool. Maybe you put it on one hand so that you could like work on your alignment with your hand. But I showed, when I brought it, Mike initially came up with the idea, and then I improved it a little bit. His initial design didn't have this half moon for your other hand to go through and to actually get in a good streamline. So I did that. And then I brought this to him, and the first thing is like, oh yeah, hey, brings one of his swimmers, put it on your head and swim with it. It's like, dude, we were working on something else. What is this? And everybody's great. That's awesome. That's what we want. We want it should be a multitasker.
Right.
We don't want any unitaskers here.
What, Karl, what I'm curious, like, from writing the biology of swimming and also having coached yourself and being around swimming, what would be like your main takeaways from writing the book and experiencing both swimming and coaching yourself to like coach a kid at the developmental age, or just like if you were to give advice to like a younger version of yourself that was swimming kind of without that knowledge, but now having it now, how would you try to explain that?
Well, I mean, not to turn the whole podcast into an infomercial, but for those who are interested in that answer, we have the Swim Coaches Starter Guide. Okay, but that's actually the exact question I was thinking of when I worked on that. Started that book a little later, because I remember walking on deck the first time, and I mean, like, kind of okay, I can swim the strokes and I know the rules, but how do you teach a kid butterfly? They've never done it before. So you have to break down the stroke and you have to use drills to build it back up. How do you write good workouts? How do you organize the team? What do you do at swim meets as a coach? What are you going to talk about nutrition wise, dry land, like all these topics, right? And so, but to answer your question in a more like 30,000 foot scale, like what would I tell a new coach? Be humble, please. I mean, a lot of coaches, especially young guys, they come in, they start doing their own thing, and they see success because 9-year-olds are going to be successful no matter what you do. Like, they're growing 3 inches. Trust me, they're going to get faster, even if you just dog paddle all practice. But be humble and learn from, always ask like your mentors around you, your more experienced coaches, like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Learn from them, and then bring in your style. Right. And so, I find that a lot of coaches get a little wrapped up in themselves, like, oh, I know how to do this. I've done, I can do this and I don't need your help and you're doing it wrong. They're talking up to like head coaches and stuff, like, you're doing it wrong. It's like, well, maybe let's just like talk about it a little bit and have an open mind. That's what I would tell young coaches. I think that's going to be your most important skill set, is open mind. You have to be coachable, even as a coach, as a young coach, you have to be coachable. And so if you're coach, I've had many times where my head coach or somebody I was working with, Mike or Tim or someone, they would come to me like, Karl, you can't do that with the kids. Like, that's too much. That's wrong. I need them to kick more. You need them to do this. And I would do it. You stings your pride a little bit, takes a chip off your ego. That's fine. That's good. We all need it sometimes. But if you want to dive into like the details of at least a foundational view of coaching, that's kind of where that book came from. And a lot of the concepts come from the medical world. So in medicine, everything is very algorithmic and very like flow charty. So somebody comes in with chest pain. You don't just like, well, I think he's got like a pneumonia. It's probably that's what's happening, and you just roll with it. No, there's like a lot of medical training is learning how to investigate and interpret all of the stuff that we do in medicine. So there's an acronym called OLD CARTS. So you ask them like, when did the pain start? What makes it better? What makes it worse? Did it come and go? How bad is it? Does it radiate? Are there any other symptoms? Are you short of breath? And so I wanted to take that algorithmic approach that we learn in medicine and apply it to swimming, to at least give new coaches a foundation to start from. I'm not gonna hurt my feelings if you do something that I didn't write in the book, or you said, oh, well, Karl, you said this, but I didn't want to do it that way. That's great. I want everybody to have their style. I want them to have their opportunity to be creative in it. But be coachable and get a foundation first. Explore how other people have done things, and then start building off of that.
Yeah, I like that. Coaches can be coachable too.
For sure.
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too, because you like, there are only so many variables that you can play around with in swimming. I think I heard another coach say this, like, we're dealing with different strokes. We're dealing with different events. We're dealing with, like a clock. And then we're dealing with like levels of basically like different energy systems. But, and like in training paces. But aside from that, it's interesting because really you're bringing in other variables like equipment. That's the only other piece that you can add, and then the art of coaching. So, and the motivational side and knowing your athletes. And I think that that's why your products are cool though, because I remember first seeing them and thinking these are different outside the box products that I haven't seen before. And I think that you kind of marrying the medicine and swim like experience and knowledge side of it is very authentic and comes from a place of love and passion, which I think it shows in that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering too, like with some of these products, like which one were you kind of surprised about that maybe broke through and you were getting feedback from coaches like this is really helpful, or like what has the feedback been from coaches that has either reassured what you initially intended or kind of changed your perspective about it a little bit?
Yeah. I think they've all gotten their share of nice reviews from people. I think what coaches probably appreciate most is probably that biology of swimming book, to be honest. I mean, I like all these products. If everybody should have FogX anti-fog in their goggles. But the biology of swimming, I probably get the most like positive feedback in real time. Like so I trained a little bit and I did a race back in July, and I was just walking around and here in central Iowa, and it was kind of a mixed masters age group meet. It was a Iowa game, which is called Iowa game. So the state tried to get people to stay in shape. We eat way too much corn. We're a little on the heavy side, so we all need to swim. But I was walking around the deck, and somebody stopped me. I was like, "Hey, you're the one who wrote that biology swimming book." I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's great." And he was an older guy, maybe 60s or so, and he said, you should do something for master swimmers. You should do something for us old guys." And he's like, and right out there, it's like, give me, and his friend was standing there. It's like, yeah, give me 3 things that a master swimmer should be thinking about from the biology standpoint. And so I thought about it for a second, and I came up with a few things, and I was like, yeah, that is a good idea. Actually, we should put something together for master swimmers, because things really do change as you get, once you're on the managed decline, Jow. You gotta change you got to change your habits. You got to change your training. You got to change what you're eating a little bit, focus on the strength part of things a lot more, because that's what we lose as we age, is the fast twitch fibers. That's why, you'll see all these like 80-year-olds running a marathon, and they'll run all day, but if you tell them to hop over the curb, they can't make it over the curb, because their biology is developing that way. And so, things like, I would say the biology of swimming actually was surprising. I think I was writing it more for me, and my benefit, but when I put it out there, a lot of people they really were attracted to something simple that they could relate to. And I hope, if you end up reading the book or any of the books, that even at the end of each chapter, I tried to really make a point to like, okay, you learned some educational stuff, but how do we actually take it to the pool deck? Take it to the pool, and how are we going to apply that in what we're doing every day? So I tried to make it as practical as possible, and hopefully that's what people found good for them as well.
Yeah,
I think that's what I love about it the most. It's the kind of like, hey, here's what your type 2 fibers are, your type A, type B, whatever it is, and it's like, this is what the swimmer that a sprinter, this is what their composition would be like. This is a mile distance, whatever. Yeah. So it's I think that's like a really cool thing about the book is how easily it becomes for you to understand not only the concepts, like the major concepts, but then it's like, okay, how's that going to help me if I'm a coach, coaching 9 and 10-year-olds, how do I translate that to real life?
Yeah. No, I agree.
You know what, a thought that just came to mind, because you're talking about, as you age, you lose some of that, the fast twitch fibers, muscle fibers, and I immediately think of like the outliers, like Anthony Irvin, who wins an Olympic gold at a later age, and then like Dara Torres, also like climbing back in speed of, in like the 50 events, which are, I guess, maybe not easier, but they can have some more variability, I guess. I don't know, but I guess there's a range across other. But how would you explain that from your side? Like,
But even Tony, he wasn't that old.
no, he
Like,
wasn't. He's 36,
30,
I
he
guess.
was
36.
36. It's like,
You're already seeing, you're
I don't
already
know.
seeing.
I don't know, Jal. 36. It feels pretty old to me.
no, I know. Like I
No, but
swam, I
I'm
swam
saying,
3
like,
days straight, and I'm like, okay, I need a day off. Like I'm not recovering. But no,
yeah,
but 36, isn't it?
you
Like
know what I'm
the
saying.
peak.
Like
Yeah.
think of even someone like Caleb Dressel now, who
Mhm.
like is sort of like you're as you go through swimming, and Zhao, this probably the best too, because you're still swimming masters at a high level. You're kind of always in swimming and in the game. Like, you have to change your like training environment and the ways you're doing things when you swim for so long. And so I'm always fascinated by the guys who are in it longer. And I'm talking like obviously the Olympians, the top like 0.5% or 1%. But like Caleb, I'm curious to see how he'll, kind of evolve into this next Olympic cycle, if he can get back to, like being that guy, or if it's going to be like he can't, surpass the Cam McAvoy or the different top guns, the young guns that are coming up, the Jack Alexis. I don't know. It's just like that kind of always interests me. I don't know if you have thoughts there.
Well, I will say a bit. Obviously, a huge component of this is genetic, right? So these guys were born to do this.
Different.
Their leg length versus their torso length is like amazing. Their flexibility, their baseline composition, their ability to train themselves up to a certain amount. I mean, so first off, they're starting at this like higher level. And then specifically with the 50, it's such a different animal than the rest of swimming. Like if you told me, Karl, develop a program for 2 programs, one for 50, like if I had a group of just purely 50 freestyle sprinters, like I would write an entire different season of workouts for them than even somebody doing the 100 plus or 100 whatever. Like, it's just such a different animal. And so these guys are like born sprinters, and maintaining that is a little bit easier in terms of like the aerobic load that you need, right? You don't need quite as much of that energy system, which takes a lot of grinding and training to build that up. Whereas in the 50, it really comes down to, muscle to weight ratio and your nerves. It's a lot of nervous system training in coordinating the function of the muscles, right? So to give you an example, so my athleticism was in powerlifting, which I got into heavy in college. And so when I started powerlifting, I weighed about 170 pounds, and I could deadlift like 300 or so. Like, that's when I first really started. By the end of my career, I weighed 170 pounds and I could deadlift 600. Okay, like I was not fat, and I converted it to muscle. I literally was almost the exact same proportions from beginning to end. So why was I able to, after years of training, deadlift so much more weight, even though nothing like the muscle sizes didn't change, my legs didn't get shorter, my arms didn't get longer.
Structurally nothing changes.
Structurally nothing changed. So what changed on the microscopic level? It's probably mostly a nervous system change. And obviously a little bit, I mean, the muscles they probably were shifting their sizes, right? My slow twitch fibers probably shrank a bit. My fast twitch ones grew a little bit. And so the overall size didn't change, but the different sizes inside were changing. And then, you need some good ligaments and tendons to be able to carry that much weight. So that my skeleton in some way was growing or improving or getting harder. I can tell you my hamstrings were very not flexible. I could barely get to my knees, so that's an adaptation because it almost like sprung the weight up. Did nothing for my back pain, but I suspect those are the kind of changes that they're focusing on when they train. I think it was Jason Lezak who said, I might be misquoting him, but I think somebody in the swimming world, Jason Lezak, I think, he said, lift, 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 swim for feel. And that was his program. And so he was developing his swimming power on the dry land side, and then he would get in the water just to keep the feel for it.
Yeah.
And the 50 is all the 50ers, they probably do something like that. And so you're able to hold on to that ability a little bit longer than probably an endurance athlete, if that makes sense. Where an endurance athlete, they have to grind. And I mean, like the guy doing the 100 or the 200, right? I mean, Michael Phelps, he did what, 400 IM was the longest thing he would do.
Yeah.
But
his slate of events too.
Yeah. But I mean, think about how much yardage that guy did. I mean, he was doing 120,000 yards a week, 7 days a week, 365, all his teenage years. But the 50, you don't want to do that with a 50 guy. If you do that with a 50 guy, they'll never get their sprinting muscles in. You'll work the sprinting out of them. And so you don't want to do that much volume if you're only going to be swimming for 20 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
So that's why I suspect they can hold on to that kind of speed longer than other people.
Something that's always interesting to me is you brought it up, like the CNS adaptations, because I'm constantly thinking of how like pattern recognition of introducing a new variable for my age groupers. And I mean, that was just something I didn't think about before. It wasn't until actually last year I kind of got introduced to it from one of the coaches that I worked with. And so it was like the CNS adaptations are really where, the changes occur. Like that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
How much do you consider that, or how much should you be kind of talking to your athletes about that, in your opinion?
I think
in a way that's like, maybe not as like technical, but like how would you relay that?
Well, you're basically you're programming, right? So your brain is a software program which has the ability to rewrite itself. And the way it rewrites itself is you practice a skill over and over, and eventually that sends the message to the brain like, oh, we should know how to do this on our own, and it becomes subconscious. So and you want to really focus hard on that the younger the swimmer is, right? So your 9-10-year-old, so like when I was coaching 9-10s, we would do one set a week where they did not have something to focus on other than making the time. Every other set, whether it was sprinting, endurance, backstroke, freestyle, diving, turns, they were working. They had to be mentally engaged because I cared way more about their technique and what they were thinking than their physical ability at 9, right? That physical ability is going to come later. And as they get older, we don't want to focus as much on. Okay, so the analogy I would use is like learning to play an instrument, learning to play the piano. The first time you go onto the piano, even if you know how to read the notes, you literally have to think about every movement of every finger and what it's doing. But the more and more you practice it, they almost move on their own. And by the time you're really proficient at the song, I mean, you could be thinking about, what you were talking with your friends the other day, and your fingers are doing it all on their own, right? So so the brain is a software that can rewrite itself. And if you send good messages, good technique, good drills, you'll write a good software and you'll have a pretty looking stroke that is probably going to be fast. If you're not thinking about it and you have an ugly looking stroke, it's probably not going to be fast. So that's how I would talk to my swimmers. So I would say, okay, we're doing this drill because it works on this part of the technique, right? So let's say, to make it as practical as possible, we're going to work freestyle. I want the kids to work on their head position. So, okay, we're going to do 825s, 6 and roll. So I want your eyes straight down, arms stuck to your head. I want you only to think about your head position relative to your arm, right? So we're not going up, we're keeping it down. Breathe on the side, come look straight back down, right? So that drill has a purpose. We're not just doing the drill for the sake of the drill. I want it to be about something. Next, we're going to bring, then we're going to do 825s of this triangle drill. So we're going to, again, keep your head exactly where it was in the 6 and roll, but this time move this arm, up here and hold it up here. That way your elbow is high and your arms are straight, whatever you want to tell them. That's not the point of me telling you how the drill is supposed to be done. The point is, when you put drills up on the board, or when you put a setup on the board, even if it was sprinting, like we would do catch up sprint, and I would make them do it. I would make my kids do it in races if they really needed it. I've made kids swim like 3 kick, 1 pull butterfly, just so that they would get the breathing timing right, because I didn't want to watch. I can't. So one thing about my pet peeve, I can't watch ugly swimming. It's got to, I don't care if it's slow. It just has to look good. Okay. The speed will come if it looks good. So even when they're racing, especially the younger they are, I would make them race drills. I'd be like, you need to do catch up on this 200 freestyle that you're going to swim. You need to do, whatever it is. So breaststroke to a streamline. I want to see everything come to a streamline when you're doing your 100 breaststroke on this race. And so the more you can engage their brains, the better software you're going to write and the better their stroke is going to be.
Yeah. Zhao, how much do you consider the CNS adaptations to, like in your own swimming and stuff?
Yeah, I'm trying some different things out recently, and it's been working. I don't know if Karl, I raced this past weekend. I went at 20.5 and 22.155.
All right. Okay. All right. Pretty
I want to go 19. I want to go 19.
You had to drop it in there. You had to drop it in there.
Yeah, just letting you guys know I'm back. No, this is really cool, because I actually have been trying a lot of the concepts that I've learned in the past, 2 to 3 years with elite athletes. And one of the biggest examples is like, I'm taking the classical approach to like periodization, like Tudor Bompa, just the basics, and applying it in a sprint sense of things. So I'm doing like every 3 weeks. I'm maintaining the structure of the workouts. Maybe I'm switching one little thing, but Monday it's top speed. It's the same warm up. The first week that I did it, I did 4 efforts where I went a 15 max, a 20 max, 25 max, 25 max with fins. All of those like suited, a lot of rest in between, like 5 to 10 minutes. Some of them, like, it took me a long time to go again, just to make sure that I was fresh. Week number 2, same warm up on the Monday, same warm up, suited up. Instead of 4 efforts, I did 5, where I went 15 max, 25 max, 15 max, 25 max, and then the last one, 25 max. So it's just like kind of like slowly, same idea that Karl brought up, but like on the bigger scale, like, like Monday top speed, Tuesday,
it's like layering it.
Tuesday power, Wednesday off, recover, just gym. Thursday GP, I did a little more like GPP technical work, where I put like parachutes and swim slow, just gaining a little bit more strength. And then Friday power, and it was funny because one of the main things I've been doing is every Tuesday I do a 50 max kick at the end of the workout, just flutter kicks, same rules every time. And I'm at week number 5 right now. And one of the coolest things that I've noticed, doesn't matter, the sets have been getting harder and harder every Tuesday, for example, for power. But my 50 kick went from week number 1 was like 31.2, 30.8, 30.2, 29.8. This week we went 29.2.
That's amazing.
With the same rules. And one of the things that I've noticed the most was week number 1, the whole 50 felt horrible. Like my legs were dying. Week number 2, the first 12 and a half felt great. the rest of the 50 felt horrible.
That's terrible.
Week number 3, the first 20 yards felt really good. And you know, and like yesterday, when I did the 50, I was like pretty pumped because I'm like, I got 10 yards to go. Because like my whole first 40 yards of kicking felt like easy speed.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I'm getting there. Like when I get there, like then it probably means that my nervous system is used to that and I need to change. Maybe I need to do 250s. Maybe I need to start
Yeah, you
going to
gotta change it.
75.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's how I'm gauging everything. Obviously, it doesn't seem like a crazy thing, right? Like at the end of a short power workout, I do a 50. A lot of coaches probably are gonna listen to this and be like, "What? Just that?" Like, yeah. If I'm coaching a group of 10-year-olds, that's not what I'm doing to gauge their nervous system. But you know, I'm 30 years old, right? So it's like I'm finding those ways and applying some of the concepts that, you know, same idea as Karl said, like come from other sports, not necessarily just swimming, but applying in a swimming way and trying to like, I think the most important thing is like finding the system and sticking to it, not being so afraid of, you know, like using tools and intervals and distances as kind of like the variables that you can control, but not being afraid of like getting creative. There are some days, yesterday actually, I set out to do 6. I was doing like broken 50s, and I set out to do 6. And on number 5, I was like, it's not going well. And it wasn't like a negative self-talk. It wasn't like, oh, like, you know, it was kind of like an honest feedback to myself. I was like, okay, this isn't as good as it's been. I probably need a rest. And that's why after I finished the effort, but today I was like, I don't need to do anything because I need to give myself that little rest. And I think that's the toughest part of being a sprint coach. There's no measurement for the CNS. Like there's no like, right? Like you can measure how much you sleep. You can measure, you know, nowadays, like how many calories you're burning kind of on average, right? Like how many REM hours you had of sleep, how many hours of deep sleep you had. And you can kind of play with those variables, but you can measure like how fatigued your CNS is.
Well,
There's
that's
no like
you bring up a good point, and that's and I so a couple points that I would talk about there is that the CNS, as swimmers get older, 15, 16, 17, 18, what we're going to work on nervous wise changes, right? So you don't want to be shifting their technique so much, right? First off, it's going to be almost a waste of time. It's just like what's set in there is set in there. But number 2, you want them to just work on what they have and improve what they have. But that doesn't mean you don't work on their nervous system. It just means you work on it in a different way. So how do we activate more muscle fibers all at the same time and get that more power out of the same muscle mass? That's kind of how I start thinking about older kid swimming, especially like you can try to develop that stuff on dry land or with resisted swimming, even for distance swimmers, parachutes, you know, doing long stuff with parachutes. Anyway, so I think you're still working the CNS. It just changes from a technique-based CNS change to a power generation, physical improvement CNS change. And then, Zhao, you know, that's a good concept that you bring up, is that you did the same thing over and over and you could see yourself getting better. That is so rare in swimming, and I wish it was more common because like in weightlifting, you can see the CNS change, right? When you can bench more weight, like weight is right there. You can add up the numbers and it's like, oh, now I went down and I came up and now I can do it. We rarely get that in swimming because I think coaches try to be almost overly creative, and swimmers, it's funny. I think it's counterintuitive. We think that swimmers want a creative workout. They want to have fun. Really what they want is they want to see progress. Yeah. And this is true for all human beings, actually. There's books written about this. They want to see mastery of what they're doing. And so if you can develop a few good sets, it doesn't have to be all the time. But if you as a coach, here's my advice is develop a few repeating sets like the 50 kick all out, or I would make my 9-10-year-olds. We would do 1 week. We would do a set of 50 kick, and then another set of 100 swims, and they would be on a super tight interval. And every week it would just increase either distance or speed, and they could actually see themselves improving week by week by week. And so that is going to be much better motivating to a swimmer to actually see progress in workout, not just at the swim meet at the end of the year, but see progress in workout. And so if you can develop some of those sets that you like to repeat, that they can see that improvement, that's going to be such a big deal for the swimmers and for you.
Yeah. I mean, in my case was I'm doing a 50 kick because it's like I'm swimming 50s.
I mean, you're no
kind of having fun, but
yeah. Keep it light, Joe.
But yeah, Braden, you know, who I worked for at NC State, he really likes 3-100s to measure a little bit of like their kind of, I think it's almost like their VO2. I don't want to call it a VO2 max, but it's like 3-100s go for, I think for men is on 110, 105. And it's just like, where's the average, you know, and he uses that set strategically, like at different parts of the season to know like, hey, how ready are we to go? And I think Todd does a very similar, obviously they work together forever. And Todd does a very similar thing in Virginia, which is you don't want to fatigue the athlete to the point of like, you know, they're not going to be able to come back and swim fast tomorrow, but you want to know where they're at. Right. So like, I know Braden uses this 3-100s. I think it's 105 for the men, 110 for the women. Very strategic, like 3 weeks before ACCs, you know, like 2 weeks before NC2As. And the athletes can see it themselves. Like I remember last year we had one of our sprinters, I think it was like big right after mid-season, his average was like 55s. And then a week before NC2As, he was like averaging 51.8, like from a push, you know, on 105. So then the confidence that gives him, right? He's like, wow, like I was throwing up going 55s, and now like here we are a week before the big dance, and I'm going 51s. Like I'm ready to run through a brick wall, right? Like, and not necessarily it's, you know, not a set that will like, oh, like this is supposed to be super difficult for you. And like Karl said, like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just pick something like that you can measure and see, track progress, right? And like that's going to be different for everyone, right? Yeah,
it's that direct feedback. Yeah,
But I'm like I learned a lot of this like just watching what Herbie's doing at ASU, talking to different, like Karl said, like I have a couple mentors that I check in every once in a while, and I'm like, hey guys, like what do you think of this? Like, you know, Coach Scott at VMI, like Seamus knows him. It's like he's one of my best friends, and he's always sending me sets. I'm always sending him sets. Like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, I'm confident in my work. I just want to know what other minds think of it. People that I admire, people that know what they're doing as well, or that have been there, done that. You know, could give me a little tweak, something to change here and there. Yeah.
I like it. Let's hop in this live chat because we got some questions that we want to address. So it looks like we got 3 from Werner 5326. I don't.
Did we make sure they're clean questions before?
They're clean. They're clean. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm checking.
Just making sure.
So we got a couple here. So, Karl, in your opinion, what product have you seen make the biggest or the biggest difference in actually correcting bad habits in young swimmers? Not just temporarily improving position, but truly helping them build better long-term technique or habits.
All right, I'll grab them off the wall of invention. I think actually the e-paddle is probably our most underrated product. So what this is it's a paddle that they all come with a forearm attachment and a hand attachment, and you can switch these out. So you just pull them off the tubing and you can switch different sizes. So for instance, this is like the gripper paddle. So you actually grip it like this, and then you're working on your early vertical forearm. And it's called the E paddle stands for exchange, because then this is Steve's arm, by the way. He accompanies me wherever I go for some smart. And so you can switch out the paddle into a bigger paddle or smaller, and we have different sizes and such. And this, I think, helps swimmers with their feeling their arm, not just feeling their early vertical form, but feeling their arm entry, right? So if you're coming down and you're coming down elbow first and slapping the water like that, you're going to feel it on that forearm paddle. And so all of a sudden, like within the next stroke, they will just slide through the water gently. And then underwater, if you push down with that big forearm paddle, and there's a smaller one for little kids, but if you push down, your body is gonna go up instead of forward. And so you're subconsciously rewiring how the entire arm is moving. So you'll feel your arm get into that early vertical position so that you can actually pull forward and not bounce up and down. And you as a coach can give that feedback a little bit, like, hey, did you feel like you were going up and down there? It's like, yeah, I could feel that. And so, okay, we don't want that to happen. Don't bounce up and down. Let your arm take you forward and not push down. And so I think the e-paddle does the most good at permanently fixing a swimmer's both their arm entry and their early vertical form, which are the problems that we tried to fix with that specific product.
Yeah, I like it. From the same guy, what do you think about using repetitive finger movement speed as a quick test for CNS readiness or lack of it?
I guess I'm not very familiar with that. So
repetitive
maybe
finger.
One of the things that we did at NC State,
I remember the kickboard.
So it's a similar idea. Like we learned it from, I learned it from Coach Ethan. Ethan got it from Braden, and like we were all doing it. But just like quick, like either lower limb or like upper limb, like just like extremities, like just like very rapid movement. Yeah. Straight into a sprint. So like one of the things we had with the sprint Speed Force to grab a kickboard. And we just do let's say 20 taps straight into top of the block relay dive, like breakout fast. So just kind of like, we would use it in warm up. I would put it in warm up or sometimes during a set. I've seen a couple of people doing it. Like actually, Coach Sam Hoekstra at CST here, he posted a video yesterday of doing it in the water. So he had all the kids just like laying on the pool deck, and then they had their like, it's almost like they're like backstroke kicking into the water right into like some kick set. So it's I think it's a valid concept. I don't know the science behind it, not gonna lie. But
yeah,
I've also seen Sean. You guys know Sean Cow over at ASP. I like
something like this. Sorry.
I see.
Right. Oh, sorry. It's the blurry thing, but yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then straight into like some fast kicking. So, shout out Coach Sam Hope.
Shout out Sam. Also, I liked it. Made me think of like I think it would be like potentiation drills. Like I've been seeing Sean post, like him kind of like doing some starts with a towel wrapped around your feet, pulling really hard and then going up on the block and ripping a 25. Or he's been doing like big kind of donkey kicks behind the block to get your back leg up and then jumping. And it makes sense to me, like just kind
activating
that part of your brain and then firing into the actual
mechanism. I don't know much about the fast movements and then going into a swim. I've never done it personally, haven't read much about it, but I do like the PAP training or the potentiation training that you're talking about. That thing I used a lot, and not just for me, but for my swimmers, they like the variability. So we would do 425s with a big parachute and just really good solid strokes, take it off, 250s all out. And so they would really feel that difference of their muscles are just super activated. And that definitely, I mean, you can find the research on that. that it shows that you can activate those nervous systems. You can adjust them almost in real time to activate more muscle power faster in that way. And that's kind of what weightlifting does in a bit. And we're kind of just bringing that into the pool. So if I was going to do a nervous system, if I was going to say, oh, this set works on your nervous system, it would be some sort of potentiation set. And I would do it even with distance swimmers. So it takes a little finagling, but we have parachutes and weights, and you can put the weight on the parachute so that it drops under the swimmer when they're swimming. And with a little bit of practice, they can learn to do flip turns with a parachute. And so you could do long distance sets with a parachute. So we would do a set routinely where they would do 4 100s with a parachute on 130, 145, whatever. Take 30 seconds, take the parachute off, and then we'd go into 6 100s, like a fast, trying to hold a best average on the 130 or something. And man, you just feel so light and fluffy in the water and just feel like you're floating through it. It's great. So those kind of sets I love to do.
Yeah. Karl, I'm taking
I think the same. The concept. It's like doing. If you're familiarized with like track and field, it's like doing fast feet, like just like with track and field, and then like it's kind of like I don't know if it's the same concept as like potentiation or potentialization, like the PAP, but it's more like a warm up to the nervous system. You know, it's like doing something quick and just getting like all jittery.
I think we need to bring you out here, Joe, and we need to get our neurology friends to stick some needles in your muscles, and we're gonna see this in action. That's what I want to hear, the popping of the motor neurons go.
If those needles take away my back pain, my knee pain, please, let's do it.
I'll do that for you. I'll put some steroid in you. That's no problem.
But
Karl's got you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
I was gonna. I'm gonna. Let's check the. Hold on. Let me just check.
Sure.
Oh, just sharing. So this is just more of a thought, less of a question. Just sharing for young coaches. Know your athletes as individuals first. What works for elite swimmers doesn't automatically work for age group or developing athletes. Yes, correct.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
elite
athletes are. Yeah, elite. I was just gonna say, elite swimmers are like a lot of times. You know, like you said, there's a genetic component, so they are outliers. It's not necessarily like you need to compare yourself to super high level swimmers like Olympians. Like they're good models of examples, but like they are outliers. So it's like you don't necessarily want to be approaching it exactly like them. So,
and I would argue, like, having coached, you know, in a couple of Olympic medalists, like world record holders, like I would argue like the opposite. A lot of coaches, like I see a lot of fear in coaching those elite athletes, and to me it was mostly like really fun, and I got to learn probably more than they learned from me, like coaching like an Olympic gold medalist, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like they need some guidance on the basics. Obviously, like when we're talking about actual riding practices, like you have to know what you're doing, but as far as like drills and technique and feel for the water, if they're already at that level, they know what they're doing. And like, if anything, we should be asking them what they feel and what they feel like they should do. And that's a conversation I've had with Sean here at ASP as well, like coaching elite athletes. I'm like, what do you do? What do you tell them? Like, coaching at NC State was so eye-opening for me, because like up until a certain point in my coaching career, I'm like, okay, I've been a 19 mid and a 50 free. I know how to coach that. But like, if I'm coaching guys that are trying to break 18, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're the one that goes 18-2. It's like, I've only gotten to a certain point. You tell me how you feel. You give me feedback on technique, because I know what I'm watching, but you know, there's only so much that I can do.
Yeah.
I mean, the body's going to react similarly to the training. It's just the numbers different, but the training in theory, it shouldn't be too different, right? So if you take somebody like we have a kid on our team right now, I think he's number 1 or number 2, 13-year-old in the country. And he trains with everybody else and he does the same thing as everybody else. So why isn't everybody else number 1, number 2 in the country? Well, the number 1 guy is 6'3" at a 13-year-old, and but his body is going to react to the training the same as somebody who's 4'8", the same age. And I don't know if you have to. Obviously, I'm not sitting here pretending like I know what it's like to train Olympians. I mean, we've trained good athletes before and college level kids, but it's just think about from when you were a slower swimmer to when you were a faster swimmer. Probably not much changed in the training or the feel in the water, but when you got done with the swim, the time was different. If I had to guess, it was still the same. It was still hard. It was hard for you at one point to swim hundreds on the 130, and it was probably hard for you to swim hundreds on the 110. But as long as it's hard and you're targeting what you want to target, I think that's really the most important thing. Maybe I'm wrong. That's fine.
No, I think you're right.
It's still difficult, by the way, to swim hundreds on 130. It's still very difficult. It's impossible, some would say.
Yeah,
I tried doing that the other day. I tried adding 6 100s on 130 pool, just long, just like I was like, end of the workout. I'm like, I just need to swim slow and like get used to like swimming more than like 50s. And I stopped on number 4. I was like, my lats felt like they're like this big. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do 6.
But to answer Warner, or to talk to Warner maybe a little bit about elite and age group. What the other advice I'd have for coaches is don't get too caught up with comparing your swimmers to somebody else's swimmers, right? If you're like, you train them as good as they can be, you're trying to maximize each individual's potential. Where that potential ends up, if you're an Olympian, I mean, or whether you're not an Olympian, 50% of that is genetic. The other 20% is like personality. The other 10%, 5% is facility and equipment and opportunity. So you as a coach, you're responsible for quite a small portion of the overall success of that, or top speed of that swimmer. So to me, don't measure success as, did I make an Olympian? Did I make a Division I swimmer? Measure it in, did I maximize this kid's their ability? And did we have some fun along the way? To me, that's the culture you want on your team. It's going to be much more sustainable long term. You're going to get along with the parents much better, and you're going to be much happier as a coach. Because if you can constantly compare, like, oh, why isn't my swimmer getting this and getting that? Comparison. What do they call it? Evil is
comparison's the thief of joy.
Thief of joy. There you got it, man. That's awesome. Love it.
It makes me think too, like, because you can measure your success as a coach as like performative based, which a lot of coaches do. It's like, what is the performance like of my athletes? But I feel like coaches that I've talked to, the one thing that they've changed over time is not just being performance based and being like, oh, it is performance based, but it's relational based too. And it's like kind of, this goes back to the point we were talking about earlier. Like, I think at any level, you as a coach are always looking to elevate your standard of coaching to like the highest kind of level in the room per se. Like the highest, you rise to what the highest level swimmer there is. That your coaching standard has to rise to meet them. And then like that's where you want to be. But then you addressed, if you're coaching a large group of age group swimmers, of elite swimmers, whatever, then you manage on an individual basis. But it has to rise to like the top. I was listening to an interview with like Brett and Dean Boxall recently, where Dean Boxall was like saying how when he coached Titmus and like some of the other Aussies, like he was like, it was brutal. Like I was, some of the men that were coming into my pro group, like couldn't handle how intense it was, but that's like the level that I needed to coach at to be able to, produce, not produce, but help athletes get along to that level, to get to rise their level, to beat a Katie Ledecky or whoever it was. And that's just, I think you have to establish your goal too. Like, do you want to be the best elite pro group in the country, or like try to produce the best, or do you want to just have the the best outcome for your club in Iowa, or your club in New York, wherever you are, based on the facilities and the amount of resources that you have. So I think it changes based on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm trying to see. Let's see. Coaches should be judged on the culture they build, not just their performance. But hard to tell parents. Yeah.
So true. I'm with you.
Communication pieces.
But that's another, in the coaches guide, we made a specific section for, okay, how do you educate your parents? Because they're on your team. A swim team is made up of 3 components: the swimmers, obviously, the coach, and the parents. If you forget about taking care of parents, educating them, keeping them in the loop, that's kind of when you start butting heads. And that's my experience watching coaches around the country. That's where trouble lies. And if you can get ahead of that, that's going to get a lot of headaches off your chest, and you'll enjoy the job a lot better.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Like it.
All right, Karl, we're coming to the question.
Okay.
What, as the co-founder of SwimSmart, what does swimming smart mean to you?
Yeah, I think I have a similar answer to what your other guests have said, which is, and I think I've used this line before, which is, they say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with 1 step. Well, I would add to that, if you don't know where you're going, you're still going to end up nowhere after 1,000 miles, right? So to me, a lot of swimming smart comes down to knowing what the end game is, and then building your program and building your mindset and building the mindset of your swimmers to achieve that goal. So to put it in practical terms, let's say I have a group of 7, 8-year-olds. I would write out all the skills that I want them to learn, and I might write out some skills that I don't care that they learn. I don't care if they learn how to do a bucket turn. I don't care. In fact, I don't care if they learn how to do a flip turn. Like, I would rather they touch the wall and focus on having a really good streamline when they push off the wall. And I'll teach them how to do flip turns later. For instance, if I have a group of, high schoolers, okay, we're going to create what's the culture that we want, or what's the team goal that we want? Every set that I write, and how I teach it in the book, every set that you write you should be able, if somebody comes up to you, the swimmer parent, like, hey, why are we doing this? You should have a good answer for that, in my opinion. You should say, well, the reason we're doing 3,000 yards of nonstop swimming is because this is going to train you for the 500, and it's going to adapt your mitochondria to use oxygen better. And in order to stimulate that, you have to supply them with a constant feed of oxygen, and you have to force the mitochondria to use it. That's how you get the signal to change your DNA, to stimulate your DNA to produce more mitochondria, so that you're better at this the next time you do it. Okay, if you have that kind of an answer to a swimmer or to a parent, it's going to click in their brain like, oh, coach isn't just punishing me, right? I'm actually doing this for a purpose. It's going to help me swim better. And again, it comes down to trust, right? There's a great book by Stephen Covey called The Speed of Trust, where he explains, it's a basic concept, but all human interaction is limited to the speed of trust. If you're trying to do a business transaction and there's low trust, you have to get lawyers involved, you have to email, you have to have meetings, you have to have talks. If it's a high trust environment, you have a handshake and it works and everybody trusts. And so if you're going to be a good coach and think about the purpose behind everything you do, and then learn how to explain that well to the swimmers on a regular basis so that they have high trust in you and their training. And then they're going to be more willing to put in the mental effort and physical effort, because you're going to ask, as a coach, you should be asking them to do really hard things. And I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche. What's his famous line? A man with a why can endure any how. So you have to know the why. You have to consciously do that. You have to write it into, if you're writing workouts for the week, write in there 10 minutes. I'm going to talk to the kids about this. I'm going to write an email to the parents about that. So that's kind of how Swimming Smart is to me, is you want to outline the problem and then line up your step-by-step solution to the problem.
I just wanted to note, if that's the easiest way to never have to talk to a parent again, if they ask you why are they swimming 3,000 yards nonstop and you answer with the mitochondria,
yeah,
parent, they're never gonna ask you anything.
Okay, John knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. They're gonna be like, all right, okay, nerd.
Exactly.
Not talking to this guy.
But enjoy the parents.
Yeah.
The parents. I know they can be frustrating sometimes, but treat them like customers, right? They're the ones paying. Treat them well, answer their questions, be patient. Mike Peterson, my mentor friend, he is amazing at this. I mean, we get like everybody else, we get nasty emails, we get second guessing, who are you to do this? And, it's like, oh, well, I've only been doing this for 15 years with top level athletes. Like, it's not my first, but he is amazing at responding to parents and being patient with them. And I think they appreciate him a lot for that. Like it's a challenge, but I would accept it for what it is and get good at that skill. And you have a good culture, and the parents they'll start feeding into each other when they're up in the stands. Like, oh no, I had this good experience with my coach, and I stand. Once they vouch for you in front of each other, then the problems take care of themselves.
Yeah,
that's the trust piece. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Trust is key.
Yeah, that's a good example. Last and final question: are you a fan of a get out swim? And if so, do you have a memorable get out swim story?
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about it today. I was coaching a group of kids, and it was kind of in a rural town in Iowa. So they weren't like amazing or something. So we're doing 50s repeats off the blocks, and they're doing, I don't know, 33s, 34s, 32s, maybe here and there, the girls and such. And I said, you know what, guys, okay, if one of you guys can swim under 30, I don't know. I was like, there's no way they're going to do it. If you guys can swim under 30, I'll do the next 50 with all my clothes on. That'll be the get out swim. And so these little, suckers, they did it right off the bat. But where has this been? What have you been doing?
Yeah,
I think it was even worse. I think they were doing like 34s, 35s. And I was like, okay, there's no way they're going to hit 30. And so I got wet that day. I went faster than all of them. I will have to say that, even with all my clothes on. So I was pretty proud of that.
That's awesome. It's like, where was that?
That was my first thought. I was like, really? Like you just been slacking this whole time. We're starting from the beginning. This is a get in swim is what this is going to turn into.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what my response would have been the opposite. It'd be like, no, we're definitely not I'm not getting in.
I know.
Yeah, so that was actually a test.
Yeah. I made a promise. I had to hold it up. It was a great time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Karl, thanks a lot. Zhao, thank you for hopping on, and it's been fun. It's the first live podcast.
Yeah.
I think it went pretty well. And
thank you, Shane.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'm just looking if there's no, I think that's it. So yeah, if there's anything else you want to add, now's the time.
You can follow us, Swim Smart Today, on Facebook, Instagram. If you go to our website, swimsmarttoday.com, you'll get one of those annoying things that pops up and says get 10% off for the newsletter. Well, the newsletter, once a week, I send out like a snippet of the biology of swimming or one of our other books. Either it's a
Mm.
video or an article, and so you can actually get like a weekly kind of lesson. And so it's not just, hopefully not just spam. And I think a lot of people appreciate it. We have a pretty good open rate, which I think proves that people actually find it valuable. And so we want to share that value with you. We don't want to just be white noise. And if you think it's valuable, keep following and sharing what we have. And if you don't think it's valuable, it's okay. No hard feelings. We'll see you on the pool deck somewhere.
Sounds good. Yeah,
Right.
check out Swim Smart. Got some great stuff. And yeah, follow Swim Coach Zhao on Instagram. Follow the Get Out Swim on Instagram and like and subscribe.
All right. Love it, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys.
See you.